How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today we take a look at a returning and also a brand new tank coming into World of Tanks console. That's of course the FV214 Conqueror Mark II and the Machine. Now, to start off with, we'll have a look at the brand new premium Cold War vehicle and then move into the Machine and some of the other information you'll need to know for today's World of Tanks console update that was released today. Of course, the tank characteristics of the FV214 Conqueror Mark II. What do we have? Well, we have some pretty interesting statistics in terms of for those of you who are interested in earning a load of silver within Cold War, and that's because it has a 55% bonus silver earn as opposed to the 50% of the standard premium vehicles. However, when you compare it to some of the other Cold War premiums in the game, it's not necessarily the highest, because you can see up to 65%, I believe, as the highest silver earner. However, this will definitely make you hundreds of thousands of silver every single game if you play it correctly. Key things about the tank as well. We are playing in the escalation era, so you're going to be coming up against the MOBATs. Pretty much all of the premium Cold War vehicles, typically era 2 anyway. That's including all of the new T-72s, basically any of the kind of standard era 2 tanks are going to be facing this thing. And although this is basically a World War II tank that we can actually already play within the game, I think it's going to make it slightly hard for this one to be super competitive within the gameplay. However, we are going to be seeing this in a replay coming up very soon on the channel, where I cover an in-depth analysis of some gameplay as to how you can actually use this thing very well. However, 2,800 hit points means that, yeah, you're going to be somewhere in the mid-range of the heavy tanks within this tier / era. You've also got fairly mediocre power to weight ratio, 35 kilometers an hour top speed, making you one of the slower heavy tanks within the game. Don't know how the armour is going to fare up in Era 2. I think it's either going to be really strong, hence why it's very slow, or it's just going to be terrible in general and you're not going to want to actually pick this thing up. But really good aim time, really good accuracy, as with the Conqueror in World War II. You've got fantastic penetration, so every single time you're hitting something, you're pretty much going to pen in Era 2. Fairly mediocre damage. You're going to be coming short of the MOBATs and stuff like that are already in the game, but 400 alpha is going to be nice when you reload in 7.4 seconds base, which obviously when you put on all of the perks and attributes that you can within the game, it's probably going to come down to in the region of about 5 seconds, which is really nice. View range 470 meters, nothing too special. 35 rounds make it a little bit bad, actually. I think that's going to become a problem for those of you really trying to get those high tier games within the Conqueror, since that's literally a maximum damage of 15,000 just off the top of my head. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to do that, or 14,000 actually. But yeah, I think that's something you'll have to take into account as well, as the maximum damage you could possibly ever do in this tank is 15,000. And so yeah, I guess that's something you probably won't get anyway. But yeah, considering you can miss shots a lot, yeah, it limits it very much. However, with this tank, what does Wargaming actually say about it, and how does that actually compare to what it's probably going to be like in the game? Well, Wargaming say that the alpha damage and penetration stats make its gun punishing. Kind of agree with that. Hard hitting weapon, not really. Cold War, 400 alpha, not particularly hard hitting. Add exceptional accuracy, yeah, correct, like we've talked about. Mark II is a heavy tank, so defensive tactics also make for a solid strategy. So I'm assuming that you want to be using the turret and making sure that you go hold down in this tank to actually stay alive. I don't think that this is going to be particularly any good whatsoever when you are caught out in the open. Side armor is going to be terrible. The upper plate and lower plate are going to be terrible in Cold War, but the turret might actually be substantial enough to be able to bounce a few rounds. As far as, I guess, what the skin looks like, it does come with a skin if you purchase it on release, and this is what the skin actually looks like. You can see it on screen right here. As opposed to how I think that this actually looks, I think it looks pretty... it's not a skin that I'm really revved up to actually get and obtain within the game. It looks pretty bog standard, to be honest with you. It's just a couple of rags and like a traditional camo pattern beneath that. So I guess unless you really want the skin, I wouldn't necessarily go all out and buying the bundle. However, when it first gets released today, it will cost you 16,600 if you get the top bundle. As with every single one of these, I would never ever recommend purchasing the top bundle, because in terms of how Wargaming price this, they will include the equipment here, vertical stabilizer, advanced loader, and improved ventilation. They'll convert that equivalent into silver, and then they'll basically work out how much silver's worth of gold it would have cost to be able to then price it up even higher. And yeah, so essentially you're paying 3,000 silver for 1.5 million silver. Yeah, not particularly something I would want to be doing. 3,500 gold even. But there you go. I guess make of that what you will. 1.5 million silver for 3,000 gold. It's literally 3 games. I mean, 1,000 gold per game, you'd never be able to get that anywhere else. So I would just play a couple more games in this thing to earn the silver that you will be able to do. And so, yeah, I think that's what I would go with. Definitely go with the cheaper bundle, in my opinion. Yes, you get all of the extras that come with it, except from the equipment, which is just ridiculously priced anyway. Obviously, if you then want to wait for just the base package that will cost you still like £30, you'll have to wait until February 1st, at which point you can pick it up for 11,000 gold. Now, I'm sure many of you, having looked at this, are going to find it interesting. I don't know how it's going to play. We'll test that out in a video coming very soon, so subscribe for that. But as far as moving on with this video, we of course have a very big talking point, and that is the machine. It is coming back, for those of you who don't know. As part of the last update news that I did, the machine is returning, and these are the specific details as to how you can obtain the machine within the game. We've got the actual details on the contract, what you have to do, and I'm going to give some tips as to how you can complete this quickly. So starting off, obviously, as with all of the contracts, you have 8 stages, and this is for all of the tier 10 contracts, so things same as the Chisel, same as the Tusk, and essentially you just have to get XP. Throughout all of the challenges, you have to get a certain amount of XP. You also then have to complete almost like secondary conditions during that period of time to be able to unlock the next stage. Now, in terms of how you can do this, stage 1, very easy, probably a couple of games. Stage 2, essentially just winning 2 battles in a row. That will come very easily. Earn 6,000 or more XP in any number of battles. You're going to get the first 2 out of the way super quickly. Then stage 3 comes along and you need 14,000 XP. You need to destroy 10 or more vehicles in any number of battles, and then destroy 3 or more vehicles while the enemy is within 100 meters. So you have to actually be really super close. These sort of... As much as I like having the novel kind of contracts and rewards and these sort of systems, I think when you are impacting people's gameplay, where you're now promoting the kind of, you have to go all in against people, it can be a little bit annoying. And although I say that, yeah, it's interesting to have contracts and stuff like this in the game, which it is, when, yeah, basically people are YOLOing you because they want to complete this contract, it becomes very tedious, and a lot of people don't actually play. Obviously, then moving on, once you've completed the YOLO challenge right here, you'll be moving on to stage 4, at which you just have to deal 20,000 or more damage, which is very bog standard, and you'll need 34,000 XP. You're kind of noticing a trend here. Every single one, basically the amount of XP that you required is doubling almost. So stage 5, we're looking at 77,000 XP, and you have to earn 3,000 spotting assist damage in any number of battles. Essentially, as you go through, you've got various different kind of restrictions as well. So for those of you that play World War II, you're essentially looking between tiers 4 and 10, and then that changes when you get higher up to tiers 8 to 10 and 9 to 10. So you're going to need a World War II tank between tiers 9 and 10. Kind of thing that like annoys me about this is that essentially Cold War mode is available to all eras. So yeah, essentially, like, that's just another way to promote the Cold War indirectly. So yeah, I mean, if you want to complete these operations, that's what you're going to have to do, because you'll basically get the assistance damage, you'll get the actual damage much quicker when you're using the Cold War vehicles as opposed to World War II, because you just have the bigger advantage of having more hit points. You have more alpha damage typically than any of the tier 10 tanks, which is what you want to be using in World War II if you're playing that. Obviously, moving on to stage 6 then, a bit of a tangent there, we now have to land 40 penetrating shots in any number of battles, so just literally pen 40 different things, and that's not 40 consecutive games, that's literally like probably a couple of games worth to complete that one, and then it's essentially getting 180,000 XP, and as you go up, you're also getting rewards as well that I forgot to mention, is that actually the rewards as you go are really, really good. So you can get 650,000 silver, you can get premium account time, you can get silver boosters, you can get vehicle XP boosters and alike, and as you go up they only get better. And of course the machine then, stage 7, moving on, is the destroy 280 or more vehicles in any number of battles, and that is in 418,800 XP. So that's going to take you a long time to be able to complete this operation. I'm currently at stage 7 on the chisel operation, so I don't know whether I'm going to swap it out to get the machine. I feel like I just need to complete the chisel first and then move on to the machine. As much as I want to get this one, it's something I'm going to have to do, and as you complete it, you're getting 3 million silver, which is really, really nice. You get a premium account, you're getting all of these boosters as well, and then eventually the final stage just being getting a purely 780,000 or more XP in any number of battles, and that's where you receive the actual tank itself. And of course, for those of you that don't know what the machine is, it has 320 alpha damage, 4-shot autoloader, giving you a total damage of approximately 1280 alpha with this tank in one singular clip. It goes 67 kilometers an hour. It has an AMX 50B hull that's good for ramming. You've got a chieftain turret and an unnerfed TVP gun, and pretty much means that, yeah, the tank is probably one of the most broken tanks, at least in the hands of a capable player within the game. Maybe not someone that just YOLOs in and thinks that they're going to somehow win. I mean, you can't do that in any single tank, so I don't quite get the relevance of some of the comments in the previous video where I said that this tank was overpowered. Yeah, just because it can't just drive into people and somehow win doesn't mean that it isn't a fantastic tank, and in the hands of a capable player, very, very good. One thing that I did want to note before we leave is that, yes, when you start today on the update, or if you log on within this next week, you will notice that the French heavy tanks have actually got some significant buffs, which we'll cover in detail in tomorrow's video. But in terms of what they are, basically tiers 5 to 10 have been improved massively. On the whole, armor has got improved on a lot of them, meaning that they can actually bounce a few shots now, as opposed to just being French baguettes where you're just penning them every single time. And then you've also got better side armor, you've also got better gun stats, which mean that, yes, you'll be able to be a hell of a lot more competitive in the French heavy tanks. At least that's the intent from Wargaming. Don't quite know how that will actually stack up in the game, and since I'm currently at the AMX M4 MLE45, nearly, I've unlocked the AMX 65T, but I'm not sure I want to put myself through that quite yet. But there you go, definitely all of these tanks are going to be much, much better to play, and the tier 5 is just really good to begin with, so the fact that they've buffed it even more, yeah, quite strange, at least from my opinion. And there we go. That is all of the update news in terms of the vehicles, the new vehicles. Let me know what you think of this new Conqueror. Do you think it's actually going to be any good? And do you think that the machine contract is good for the game? Do you think it's just going to end up with YOLO Fest, especially with that one operation where you have to destroy 3 or more vehicles within 100 meters? Hopefully it doesn't go too bad and people get through that really, really quickly, so we don't all have to be just sat there in our tanks getting rammed by every single person on the enemy team. But there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Of course, like it and subscribe and check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Goodbye.